Hello, my name is Mike. This is a bike. This is what I call the Ikea Jackpot. And the reason we call it that is, well, it started off as a pile of parts that we didn't know if they were complete or not. We didn't know how they went together or if any of the parts even really matched. Well, yeah, actually we did know that they kind of sort of matched. And so my project here is to put it together and try to make a functioning rideable motorcycle out of it. And like a lot of projects, every step we take, well, we realize we've got a lot more to take, and sometimes we have to take a step back and a step. Anyway, in the last episode, we were able to put it together. We were able to get a little bit of paint work done on some of the parts that didn't look good, and we're starting to make it look more and more like a motorcycle. In fact, we were even able to give it a little bit of juice and get it to pop. So from this point forward, it's a matter of details. So I've still got a gas tank on its way. Once the gas tank arrives, we'll put a fuel pump in. We can actually run it. We've got an exhaust system to put on it. We've got some body parts to put on it. And of course, we've got to find a seat. So we've got a place to put this enormous ass of mine. This is Larry. This is my dog. He's a good boy. Larry's going to help us in this episode, huh? He's going to keep the cats away, huh? Good boy. Anyway, stick around.
Somewhere in a dusty, dirty back alley in western Arizona is an old fart trying to cram a square peg into a round hole. He'll work on anything, just as long as it's got at least 2 cool wheels.
That I ordered and that have arrived is a set of very generic throttle cables. Now, being the consummate cheapskate that I am, instead of paying, like $100 for a used set of throttle cables that actually fit a Victory, well, I got some generic ones that are supposed to fit a Harley Sportster. When will I ever learn? To the question, can a cheap set of Sportster throttle cables work on a Victory? Well, the answer is actually yes. So I've installed them. They're not exactly the same as Victory. They don't have a nut that we can counter tighten here where the cable housing goes on, but we can just zip tie stuff and it'll be fine. As long as you have the proper tension on them, well, looky there, they work just fine. These cables are $18 as opposed to the $85 for the Victory cables. So, once again, the cheapskate prevails. Doesn't always work out that well, though. An exhaust system. They're just straight pipes, so they'll be pretty loud. One thing I do have to fabricate is some sort of a bracket to go between this anchor point and these mounting points here. But that should be easy enough. A little bending, a little drilling, a little bit of welding, smashed fingers, debris in the eye. So I'm pretty good at that. I got pretty lucky. I found this rear fender on eBay. This is for a Jackpot. It is the correct fender. It's in pretty darn good shape. And it was listed as being for a Vegas, and that's probably why I got it so cheap. Paid $150 for it. Typically these go for closer to $300. The only thing it doesn't have is the taillight. So I came up with a great solution for that. Here's the taillight I'm going to put on it. Wait. It doesn't fit. Oh boy. I see some modification in the future. The reason I want to go with this taillight is because, well, it was $16 instead of $300. The cheapskate just never quits cheapening. Or something like that. These, for my turn signals, you know, they're cheap aftermarket stuff I've had stashed for years. Don't know why I bought them in the first place, but they're held by an ordinary nut, so they should be easy to attach. I'll just simply, you know, attach them back here somewhere in, you know, something like this. It should work out.
So, another issue I'm going to have to deal with on this bike is the fact that all the lights are controlled by an electronic, speed-controlled self-canceling module. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to bypass it using diodes and flashers. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a couple of diodes in it that affect the control relays on the bike. So they're going to be incorporated into it, and we'll build us a little module to take its place.
Fun fact, there are more kinds of connectors than there are grains of sand on the beach. Good luck finding the right one. I spent hours trying to match up connectors so I don't have to cut and splice. Trying to do a neat job, you know? Just, they don't put their name or anything on the darn thing, so most of them match GM connectors. Most of them are the GM Delphi Metropack type, but not all of them. What do you think, Larry? So, amongst some of my recent parts that have arrived, I have some adjustable flashers. These are for LED lights. I have some diodes. And with the flashers and diodes and the schematic, I've kind of drawn up a little sketch of the circuit I need to build to take the place of the flasher module. Once again, I'm not going to tie into the speed sensor because I don't have the circuit board to self-cancel, but the rest of it should work fine. I should have normal turn signals, and I should have hazard flashers by the use of these flashers and diodes. So, sounds good. Anyway, oddly enough, I had this random stereo connector that by removing a couple of pins, I was actually able to make it work. It actually lines up with the pins. It doesn't have the guide pegs or indexing, but I just, you know, put an arrow on it, and then I numbered them to match the numbering system in the Victory schematic. So I can use this to build my flasher module, and it will plug right into the existing plug. What are the odds, right? Well, let me catch you up with what's going on. A lot of things have happened since well, the earlier part of this video. See, my day job went away. Yeah, you guys may have seen the video of Fort Irwin where I teach, and our company has decided, since they've opened other campuses in California, that they had too many campuses and that they wanted to keep the students at another campus, so they decided to shut down the Fort Irwin campus. They're still in business, so if you're interested in getting into the wind or telecom or solar business, you can still go. You just have to attend class either in Tehachapi or Camp Pendleton down in the San Diego area. Nonetheless, well, they took my laptop. You see, well, it wasn't really my laptop. It was their laptop that I used for instructing and so forth, but I was also using it for my YouTube channel. They had no objections to me using it for my own personal endeavors. And consequently, well, everything had to be transferred to a small drive, and now I've got a new computer on the way, and I'll transfer those files to that computer. Hopefully they haven't been lost or corrupted. And well, anyway, so all these things are happening, and I'm trying to build a dang bike. What the heck? Well, let me show you where we're at. We have made a little progress. The parts are continuing to trickle in. We're getting ever closer to actually having a functioning motorcycle. Have a look. All right, we've installed the headlight and the cell. We've installed the speedometer. We've got some cables routed about. Things seem to fit pretty well so far. I've got the correct cooler. The one I had was wrong. This one is correct. Although the bracket wasn't right, I did have to do a little bit of modification to the mounting holes, a little bit of, hogging out and stuff, but it now fits. So we'll be able to put the cooler on. I've installed the air cleaner. This is what we call cone type air cleaner, and this is the type that was actually only used on the 99 model year, but they're in high demand because, as you can see, that the cone itself's got a lot of surface area. It makes it possible for the engine to breathe a lot better. So we've got that mounted. I got the correct bolts. I found a way to kind of Mickey Mouse adapt the crankcase vent. And one other thing that you'll have to do if you choose to use this type of air filter on some of the later bikes is, well, the harness doesn't reach for the barometric pressure sensor. So I had to extend that wire a little bit to allow it to reach. So that's complete. So now all my sensors are functional and connected. So it should allow the ECM to see what it needs to see to run the bike. Now, another thing that has arrived, to my great pleasure, is our gas tank. Yeah, we can put a fuel pump in that thing. We can set it up on here, and theoretically, we can have a running bike. This gas tank, once again, was the cheapest one on eBay that was usable. And as you can see, well, it needs a little bit of love. So once I've proven that everything works, I'm going to take it to my buddy down there at Old Town Restorations, and I'm going to see what he can do with that. He and his team are pretty gifted. We can make a decent gas tank out of that. Another thing I showed a little earlier in the video was that, well, I got a rear fender with no taillight, and I was thinking about, just hacking it off. Chop that fender off, and then I can use that kind of cool taillight that's kind of a long, slender taillight. I don't want to cut up a nice fender like that. It's in good shape. This is what I had planned to use, and this is kind of sort of like the taillight you might find on a Harley, switchback, something like that. Well, then I found another cheap taillight online, and again, it's not a $300 taillight. This one, teardrop shape, is a much more appropriate taillight for this fender. So I just have to make kind of an adapter plate because it is slightly too small, but that shouldn't be too hard to come up with. So we're getting there. We're making progress. I'm going to mount a bunch of parts. I got a couple of hand grips to go on it as well. And so, just watch me throw parts at it. just when I think I have things fingered out, well, it turns out, look at the schematic for that self-canceling device, that module that I don't have, and I figured out a way to work around it, and then I stumbled across a different wiring diagram, a different schematic in the same manual. So apparently there's two different ways this can be wired. This is the plug that goes into the turn signal switch, and it could either have a ground wire going to it for the signal, or it could have a hot wire. And now if it's got a hot wire from the battery, well, then my plan won't work. Well, this one's got a ground wire going to chassis ground. So that means if I turn the turn signals on, it would be sending a ground signal to that module instead of a hot signal. Which means I'd have to use a relay in conjunction with the crap I've already tried to figure out. So I'm going to cheat. I've already pulled this terminal out, and we are going to tie into this hot here for the horn, and then we're going to feed hot to this plug and also over here to the hazard flasher plug. And then we'll be able to use my highly engineered turn signal module. It's also convoluted. Oh, I have a headache. Now, originally, I was going to take the foot controls off of Inferno, because those are forward controls, those are foot pegs, those are what's supposed to be on a steel frame bike like this one. And then I was going to put these ones, which are for the C-type Victories, on Inferno. But then I got to thinking, maybe I'll put those on the steel frame, on the Jackpot. What do you guys think? Should I swap them with Inferno, or should I just go ahead and bolt the floorboards onto the Jackpot? It would certainly make it different, because the Jackpots normally don't come with those type of floorboards. So, you know, put your ideas, put your comments in the comments section. Which way shall I go? Shall I use the foot pegs that are for it, or shall I use the floorboards? And then I'll basically have swapped between the two bikes. Go. Still neutral. Well, it's running on one cylinder, but anyway, proof of everything is there. I got one dead cylinder. Probably got a plugged injector. They were questionable injectors to begin with. But that's going to end this episode, guys. I'm squatting down because my camera's at a weird angle. Anyway, the Ikea Jackpot is very, very close. We got it where the fuel system works, the ignition system works. All I got to do is iron out the lights, figure out what that misfire is, and we'll have a running bike. Heck, look! I even got a seat for my fat horse. Looky there. So, come on back for the next episode. We're going to pull the tins off. We're going to take them down to the body shop, get them fixed up nice, and we'll make a nice bike out of this thing. Thanks for watching.